Welcome. I'm Joanna Valsamis, Director of Knowledge Mobilization at Canada's Stem Cell Network, and your host on Stem Cells from the Sofa, the groundbreaking video series that invites you to explore the incredible world of stem cells and regenerative medicine from the comfort of your own home. In this unique series, I sit down with some of the brightest minds in the field for candid and enlightening discussions. Today we're joined by Dr. Maryam Faiz, researcher and assistant professor in the Temerty Faculty of Medicine at the University of Toronto. Her research focuses on a type of brain cell called astrocytes. She's particularly interested in how different astrocytes work, their roles in brain injuries and diseases, and how this understanding could help develop future treatments. Hi, Maryam. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Joanna.
While your research focuses on the brain, we're excited to have you here to help dispel some common myths and misconceptions about stem cells and the field more generally. Stem cell science is really fascinating, but it's also surrounded by a lot of hype and buzz, especially as we see a lot of celebrities and athletes endorsing various treatments on social media. Here at the Stem Cell Network, we receive a lot of questions from the public, and we're going to ask you our top ones today. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What are stem cells exactly?
I like to think of stem cells as the building blocks of our body. They have these two really special characteristics. The first is that they can self-renew indefinitely. So that basically just means they can make more of themselves forever. And the second is that they can give rise to more mature and more specialized cell types in the body. And so here it's really important to understand that there's two main types of stem cells. The first are pluripotent stem cells. So these cells, of course, self-renew indefinitely, but they can give rise to all of the cells throughout our bodies. The second type are adult stem cells or tissue-specific stem cells. So these stem cells actually reside within a specific tissue and they can only give rise to the cells of that tissue. So for example, you have muscle stem cells, they will only give rise to cells within the muscle, and you can have brain stem cells and they will only give rise to the cells of the brain. So as you can imagine, these properties make stem cells really exciting. And so we hear a lot about stem cells in the context of treating disease. So for example, in the field of regenerative medicine. But what I think makes stem cells so interesting is that they are actually responsible for building us and they're responsible for healing us. So stem cells contribute to all of the processes that help us get through our days, like they take care of our body's normal wear and tear. And I actually think that regenerative medicine is so exciting because it harnesses kind of this everyday potential of the stem cell and turns it into a treatment for disease.
Thank you. When we hear the term stem cell treatment, we often think of cancers and cancer treatment. What other disease areas have promising research happening today?
So the majority of stem cell therapies that are in the clinic are used to treat blood cancers such as leukemia, and this is done through bone marrow transplantation. But stem cells also hold extraordinary promise to one day be able to treat so many diverse conditions, things like type 1 diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, spinal cord injuries, eye diseases, you name it. This is really because stem cells have that potential to give rise to all of the specialized cells of the body. There is amazing research being done in Canada, funded through the Stem Cell Network, and also in amazing labs throughout the world.
What stem cell treatments are currently approved by Health Canada and being used in healthcare today, and how can someone ensure they're safe?
So for many years, stem cells have been used to treat blood cancers, so things like leukemia, lymphoma, and other blood disorders. They're also used to treat graft versus host disease, and they are used in some forms of aggressive MS that's unresponsive to other treatments. There are only a number of approved stem cell treatments, so if it's experimental, make sure it's a registered clinical trial. All clinical trials are regulated by Health Canada, and you can actually find a list of these on clinicaltrials.gov.
How can someone participate in a clinical trial or learn more about clinical trials for their disease or condition?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's important to understand that it takes a long time to take research from the petri dish and put it in the patient. That being said, if you're interested in clinical trials, the best first point of contact is likely your physician or specialist because they'll have an understanding of what's ongoing. I think at this point it's important to also mention that there are a lot of for-profit clinics that are selling risky, unregulated stem cell treatments. So these are often marketed directly to the patient with the promise of a cure, but they are unregulated, expensive, and again, unproven. So we call this stem cell tourism, and I think it's really important that people take caution when exploring stem cell therapies on their own.
How can someone donate stem cells, and what does that process look like?
People who donate are either on the stem cell registry and have been matched to a patient, or they are a match for a friend or family and they've been tested to make sure that they are. To test if you're a match for someone, either on the registry or a friend, it's as simple as a cheek swab. And if you are interested in registering, you can check out the Canadian Blood Services. They have a lot of information and the option to register. From the registry, if you are a match and you want to donate your stem cells, then you will be asked to go through various processes, including consent and a physical exam. And then there's two ways where you donate your stem cells. So the first is through a peripheral blood donation. And so this is a little bit more complicated than just donating blood, but it's non-surgical. And these types of donations are used in about 80% of the cases. The second is a bone marrow transplant, which is a surgical procedure, and it's performed under general anesthetic.
Great, thank you. What are some key questions that someone should ask when they're considering umbilical cord banking?
Umbilical cord blood is actually the blood that's found within the umbilical cord when it's attached to the placenta immediately after childbirth. So it has all of the normal components of blood, red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, plasma, but it also contains stem cells. And so these stem cells, or these cord blood stem cells, are very similar to the stem cells that are found in the bone marrow. Cord blood stem cells are used to treat many health conditions, and that's why a lot of parents consider storing it. It's kind of like buying insurance. It's personal. There's really no right or wrong decision. If you needed cord blood stem cells, you could use the ones that you had stored in a bank, but you could also get them from a donor or from a public bank. If you are considering storing your cord blood or your child's cord blood, there's a number of questions I would ask myself. The first is, what are the chances that someone in your family will actually need it? The second is, if you don't need it, who could potentially use it? And the third is the bank registered with Health Canada? And if it's private, how stable is that company? So there's private banks, public banks, and biobanks, which are using cord blood stem cells for research. And if you think about who could use the cord blood, it might help you choose the right bank. Regardless, both public and private banks that are using cord blood for allogenic purposes, so that means that it can be used for both the donor and potentially a family member, those banks are required to register with Health Canada, and they're regulated by the cell, tissue, and organ regulations, which means that they're subject to routine inspections.
Excellent, thank you. Those were our top questions. Now I'd like to ask you about your work. Can you tell us a little bit about your research and the impact you hope it will make?
Sure. So in my lab, we are interested in developing a gene therapy that can be used to treat different CNS diseases, things like multiple sclerosis, stroke, even spinal cord injury. And so more specifically, we have been developing a reprogramming technology that takes astrocytes, which are cells that are in your brain, and that can often drive disease processes that are associated with stroke or multiple sclerosis or even Alzheimer's disease. Takes those astrocytes and it turns them into oligodendrocytes. So oligodendrocytes are the cells that create myelin in your brain, and myelin is really important for really fast information processing. So if you lose oligodendrocytes, for example in MS, and you lose the myelin, then your brain essentially slows down and is unable to transmit information. And so in my lab, we think of this as a two birds with one stone approach to brain repair. What we're doing is trying to understand how to make these therapies really specific. So we want to be able to take out a specific cell in a specific disease that's driving that disease and replace it with a specific cell that's lost in that disease. And so the challenge is, how do we need to be able to identify all the cells in all of the diseases and all of their functions. But the reward is that if we're able to do that and we can start to create these really specific treatments, we could come up with very personalized approaches to brain repair.
Amazing. Thank you. It's been great learning about your work, and thank you for helping dispel some of the common myths and misconceptions around stem cells in the field.
Thank you for having me.
To our viewers at home, you can find more episodes on the Stem Cell Network's YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.